over to that side.
Who was that?
Put different
Guy
batteries
named
in
Dennis
it.
Morrell. Died in '68,
We just need a pair of sunglasses.
50 years ago.
There's a name down there, his name Willard DeBolt. And I worked at Dalton Foundry a couple summers. And worked with him one summer. And he was being taken into the service at the end of the summer. By the next spring, he was gone. His name's on there.
Have you ever been to the real one, Dan?
No.
You talk about moving,
Yeah.
the way they've got that designed and you go down. This, I mean,
Thank you.
it's stirring.
Yeah. All places I've been in the world, I've never been to Washington DC. Never.
That was a hard time to be in
Never
the
been to the
service.
Grand
I've
Canyon.
been a lot of places. I've never been to Washington DC. You and I, we'd have cleaned it up.
We would drain the swamp,
We
right?
drained the swamp.
Yeah.
And there's
We'd
more to
be
see
considered
now.
part of the problem.
Yeah. You know, with, you know, now that the Vietnam War and the World War II.
World War II's been added.
And the exhibit for the.
Korea?
Korean War, and then the German death camps,
Holocaust Museum.
Holocaust Museum. Thank you.
Wow.
That's
Amazing place.
well. I showed 4:01. I didn't know the clock on the walls. It's a little slow. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And if you would all rise, please, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll begin with the approval of the minutes of the meeting of May 7th. Are there any, you should all have received a copy of that in your packet or online. Are there any additions, corrections, deletions suggested?
I didn't say anything. Did you?
No,
If
sir.
not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Clemens made the motion and Mike seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, approval of claims. I see we have a regular list and we had one addition. Did everyone get a copy of the addition that was added later? I have one hard copy here. You do not. It's for $97,000. Pass that down. If you don't have that.
This one? Yep, everybody has one.
Yeah.
We're good.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with the approval of claims. Jeremy, would you walk us through that, please?
Yes, $950 is just our administration fee for 2015 bond through Huntington National Bank. Warsaw Times Union advertisements for the additional appropriation for the northern TIF. Westler Engineering, $32,228.47 is for engineering for the airport industrial park. Both Barnes and Thornburg are for the annexation, the airport industrial park annexation, legal services, and Structure Point, $533.90 should be for the Buffalo Street project.
That is correct.
And then the addition is the our bond payments for the 2011 bond issue, and that $97,422.50.
Part of the reason we have the additional one for the special, for the bond is, the due date is July 14th for the funds, so we want to get it passed today, even though it came in late.
Jeremy, what bond is that?
2011 should be the Warsaw Commons one, I believe.
Warsaw Commons?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions regarding the claims?
Move to be accepted as presented.
Mr. Snodgrass makes a motion to accept as presented.
Second that.
Mike seconds that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion also carries. Moving right along. Unfinished business, the Powell contract. I see, we, as I recall, we tabled this last meeting, so we could get a more accurate identification of the number of acres involved. See, that's been adjusted.
It's still recommended we keep it tabled. They did mark out the land that wasn't going to be disturbed, but I have not heard anything from him on whether or not he's going to do it or not, because obviously it'll be substantially less than what it's been in the past. Sounds like he's probably still gonna farm some of it, so we'll just wait to see what he comes up with.
You're recommending we table it?
Yeah, I would just table it till, like I said, we clarify exactly what the terms.
Getting a little late in the season for planting too, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm leaving that up to them, I'm not a
Yeah.
farmer.
Did he actually meet with
So, G and G
G&G.
is doing phase two, they're constructing phase two. They marked out the areas that would not be disturbed, and he was to go look at it and figure out whether or not he's gonna farm it or not.
but he has not
I have
communicated
not,
to you?
yeah, there's been no communication to me other than it's been marked out and they were meeting to look at the acreage that would be left.
Okay.
Yeah.
I move to table.
I
Second.
have a motion and a second to the table. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll table that till next meeting and see what develops. Okay. Moving on, the Troyer contract and the adjustments for that.
No changes to what was presented to you last month or given to you late last month, so I am still requesting that we approve the Troyer contract. This is for the second phase of County Road 300 North, which includes the trail, but also reconstruction of the road and a roundabout at Sheldon and 300 North.
Okay.
That is one of our projects for next year, which will be in the budgets you'll be looking at over the next month. So we just need to get the engineering going so we can be ready to construct it next year.
Jeremy, didn't you say that you were going to present the progression of what was added for each?
So what was added initially, when we were doing the engineering, it was basically a mill and fill of 300 North and the trail. Bless you.
Thank you.
What the additions of this amendment include the design of the roundabout, which is pretty much the bulk of the addition, and also reconstruction of the road. So rather than just a mill and fill, because of its deterioration over the last year and a half, we'll be redesigning the actual road layout. So it's going to be reconstruction of that road, not just a mill and fill. So those are the two things that have changed. Everything else stays the same. The path stays the same. The lighting stays the same. It's just the addition of the engineering for the roundabout and the road reconstruction rather than mill and fill.
One question mentions the right-of-way plans, and the city is going to be responsible for the right-of-way acquisition
Yes.
and documentation, including legal.
Yep.
Is the redevelopment commission going to be tagged with any of that expense?
Yes, yeah, we'll pay for it out of Northern TIF as it occurs.
Okay.
Every year I budget some money in right-of-way acquisition. There's not, so part of the right-of-way will be acquired at the final plat for the rehab facility that's under construction. The other property will be our communications with Petro. We'll talk to him about what, so they really do the design work so I can know exactly, so once they start designing, we can get exact right-of-way boundaries, and we'll start talking to the property owners. There'll probably be some right-of-way for the roundabout on Cole's property and a little bit on the Real America property, which is the apartment complex there. But there'll be less right-of-way acquisition on those properties because the roundabout will be shifting down a little bit.
A little to the south.
A little to the south.
So their buildings are pretty close to 300 North as it is.
They are, a little bit. I mean,
I was out there today
yeah.
looking at it.
There'll probably have to be one sign that's moved. It's Heron Preserves, I think, their sign will probably have to be moved.
Mhm.
But outside of that, most of it'll just occur within the right-of-way and additional radiuses for that roundabout.
Okay. Any further questions on this document? I think page 2 identifies the dollar amounts for the original contract and amendment. This is amendment 3, I believe, right?
Yes.
And the current contract amount with the additions is now up to $300,000. So. If there's any further discussions, call for a vote, or I'll ask for a motion. Thank you.
I'll move to approve.
Mr. Clemens moves to approve.
Second?
And Mr. Snodgrass seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. So we will add this contract. Thank you, sir.
Jeremy, how much of this project do you think they will get done this year?
Which project?
300 North.
The design work? The project won't be constructed until next year.
Well, yeah, do you think they'll just get all the design work
Yes.
done this year, everything laid out,
My hope is.
ready to go next spring?
The goal is that this project will be designed and ready to bid early next year. So the goal is to get it designed this year.
Okay, so the work I see being done out there now is just REMC?
Yes.
Okay, nothing on the bridge?
Well, the bridge should be under construction now.
It is.
Yeah. And
Well,
that's,
REMC's out there now.
that's a county project. That's
Okay.
not our project.
Okay,
I mean, we've coordinated everything with the county. We did the first phase of 300, they're doing the bridge, and we're gonna do the second phase of 300, but the bridge isn't under our control, it's under the county's.
county, okay. So when all is said and done, the project is complete, will that whole stretch be maintained by the city?
Yes.
Even the bridge at the
Not
county?
the bridge.
Not the bridge.
We do not control bridge funds, the county does, so all bridge funds go through the county and are maintained by the county,
Huh,
Even if
I
they're
did
in the
not
city.
realize.
even if they're in the city limits.
Glad I asked. Did you know that?
I'd forgotten. They knew it and I'd forgotten.
You have forgotten more than I'll ever know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeremy.
No comment.
Thanks, man.
Okay,
That was good.
so we move on to the budgets then?
Yeah.
All right, it's our favorite part.
Yes, it's that time of year again. We're starting our budget process for 2019. So what you have is the budgets for your review for the next month. I'll answer any questions you have on them now, but basically the goal would be that we would approve the budgets at our July meeting. So they've been presented for this meeting for you to review, and if you have any questions, like I said, you can ask me now, and then over the next month, feel free to shoot me any questions or comments. If there's anything major, I'd like to at least talk about it a little bit today. If you see something that just seems out of place now, then that'll give me some time to answer any questions or make any adjustments. But for the most part, they pretty much follow everything we've been talking about. The report that you get, the projects. So next year's projects we've talked about, the 300 North project, the Airport Industrial Park project, all the projects we talked about being on the list for next year, they're pretty much reflected in those budgets.
I just have one question. When I was printing these out, there was but three budgets that were listed. And the last budget, it said it was, I think, 14 pages or something like that. At any rate, when I tried to print it, several of the pages were blank. Is that, and I asked Kim to check out and make sure that it was
It's
correct.
because they were double-sided, and I can't,
Same
I had to
here.
run the whole
Yeah,
packet
I just
through
assumed there was
double-sided.
nothing.
I
So
got you.
some of the pages were not double-sided in that packet, some of them were. So it printed white on those pages that were not double-sided.
Yeah, okay. That explains it.
Yeah, I saw that too, Rick.
I couldn't figure out how to dissect it so you could, and get it in one piece to you.
The only thing, and I tried to add a little bit of cushion, the only thing that I have no exact amount on is for the Northern TIF salaries, because we don't have those dollar amounts yet. I just put, I think I put a 5% factor in there, just to cover any, whatever, if any changes to that. But outside of that, everything in those budgets is really just based on the projects we have coming up for next year.
Jeremy, how long is that Northern TIF? What's the lifespan of that?
So it's somewhat segmented because as you bring them in, each segment has its kind of own lifespan, so to speak. So as you expand, each segment has its own lifespan. But the bulk of it will roll off in 2030.
Okay.
So I think we got 12 years, roughly 11 years left. That's the bulk of it, and there are some segments that will go beyond that.
Okay.
And if we combine the Northern TIF and the Eastern TIF into one TIF district, each of those, it'll be the same. Each area kind of has its own, as you expand a TIF district, each area's clock starts on the expansion date. So there will be segments that will, like the Eastern TIF obviously, will be based on the bond issue. That lifespan will be based on the bond issue we do for the Airport Industrial Park.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Based on the bond issue for the industrial park.
Yeah, so the state has changed its rules governing TIF districts over the years.
Right.
And so not all of them, it used to be 30 years, then it was 25 years, then it was 20, and then it was back to 25. And it's changed so many times, it's hard to keep track of. Currently, the Eastern TIF district, based on when it was formed, its lifespan is based on 20 years and or 25 years based on its first bond issue. So when we do the bond issue, that's when it will trigger its lifespan.
That's when the clock starts ticking.
That's when the clock starts ticking.
The reason I asked, thank you, the reason I asked is I see that, this year we have we're gonna end up with a nice ending year-end balance. Next year, we will have spent a lot more money than we took in, so the balance will be substantially less. But this year's a big money year,
Yeah.
to get these projects finished.
Yeah, so 2019.
So I was wondering, how many more years do we have to kind of build up those reserves again?
Yeah, so obviously, we've been trying to do our projects with cash and not bond as much as
Right.
we can.
Smart.
So the 300 North, we're doing all with cash. Phase 2 of the tech park, we're doing all with cash. Of course, when you do that, you draw down those cash reserves. But our big concern is making sure we cover our bond issues. So we have 200% coverage of our bond issue. We still end the year with 1.5 million roughly
Right.
in funds, which will cover our bond issue, plus the revenue we would have for 2019. On top of that, those budgets don't reflect the $2 million we have invested because we don't have access to that capital. So when I show 1.5 million, it's actually 3.5 million because the 2 million's invested, right? So keep that in mind.
Okay.
So we're not as bad as it may look on a piece of paper.
Well, even that doesn't look bad if you understand, you know, it's a heavy spending year, but after that, if it goes to 2030, like you said, we're gonna have a lot of time to build those reserves back up.
Yes, in 2020, we have some road projects, but not quite to the extent that we're doing. We'll do some work on 300 North as it goes.
To the west, yeah.
But not quite to the extent that we're doing on Phase 2 and the Airport Industrial Park annexation and 300 North.
Good deal, thank you. The TIFs are doing their job.
They are
Yes.
successfully, in my
Yeah.
Yeah. They're doing what they were intended to do. At what point do we do we have access to the invested dollars?
So one of them rolls off, I think we have at the end of this year, and the other one rolls off at the end of next year.
Okay.
And we can choose at that time
Reinvest.
whether we reinvest it or not. We did the shorter investment cycle for the last one, if you remember correctly.
Yep.
We didn't go the 2 years because I wanted to keep track of our projects and make sure balance-wise, because I knew we were going to be spending a lot of cash next year
In
on
case
the
we
projects.
needed that.
In case we needed it, so we do get a million back at the end of this year, and we can choose whether, at that time, whether or not we invest it or, and if we look like everything's going all right, you know, maybe we invest it. I mean, we have the cash reserves to get us through 19 and 20, but I'm always cautious.
Yeah.
I like to be, I'm optimistic, but at the same time, I want to be cautious, so we'll have, at the end of this year, we'll choose whether or not, and we can not choose to invest all, we can knock it down to $500,000 or whatever we want to do if we feel like we need to keep a little bit more in reserve. And that, you'll make that decision once that investment goes on.
And we'll have a budgets, we'll have anticipated cash needs at that point.
We will know where we're going to end up on the Tech Park Phase 2, because obviously that's under construction now. So we'll know where we're at on that, dollar-wise.
Have you been up there?
So this is informational only for this point?
Yeah, we're not voting on them today. We will have to vote on them at the July meeting. So basically, you have a month to review them. Send any comments to me, any questions. I'll try to we will have to finalize them at our July meeting.
We'll quiz you on them in the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, anything else on that?
Yeah, any other questions? Anything else you looked at, if you had questions on?
No.
I'm surprised you didn't bring up the Buffalo Street or the Redevelopment Authority, because you'll notice there's like, it kind of balloons with cash and shrinks with cash. So just real quick on that one. That's all based on us completing Buffalo Street, which is supposed to be done November of this year. We then would submit for our regional cities disbursement, which is roughly, I think, 60% of that money. So we would get like $900-some thousand. That's budgeted for next year for the plaza. And then after we complete the plaza, then we would get the remainder of that. So as you look at that budget, you'd be like, how come our revenue jumped up 900,000? Well, that's part of our regional cities funding. So after November, we submit our claim for reimbursement. We get that money. We do the plaza. We submit again for reimbursement. So if there's any questions as you go through that, let me know.
I see the city, we're doing our part down there. Streets gone now, they're gonna do the infrastructure part. When does the developer start his end of the bargain?
We'd like to have something under construction by the end of this year, but a lot of it's based on us getting in there and getting the infrastructure done. Obviously, if you've been down there, it'd probably be pretty hard to build anything right now. It's completely torn up. So as soon as we start to get that put back together, then I think he will have an opportunity to get in there.
Okay.
So our hope is either late this year or early next year he has the first units under construction.
Is there any logic in, before you put the finishing touches on the street and make it nice and people-friendly, so to speak, people-ready, will the city stop at a certain point, let him come in and do his construction so as not to ruin a brand-new street or a brand-new sidewalk or anything?
Yeah. That's really hit or miss. I mean, we've done it both ways in the past, and I would say there's no real benefit to doing it either way, because you run the risk of, I mean, think of a road as a complete package, and when you don't complete that package, then it's not fortified to what it should be. So you also run the risk of during construction, you're damaging something because it doesn't have its full construction. And we've done it both ways, and I don't know that, to me, there's a real benefit doing it either way. I think there's pluses and minuses. We've held off on the final coats on some projects, and then we've lost. We had to come back and basically repair the underpatch,
Yeah.
which costs money. And
So you're saying there's risk either way?
there's risk either way, and I honestly I don't think there's a preferred method. We've done it both ways.
Good point.
And at this point, I think it's better for us to finish product it, and then anything that's damaged, they'll have to fix if they damage it.
That's what plywood sheets are for, right?
You know. Well, and the nice thing is this: there is an alley that can be used. We're not reconstructing the alley right now,
Yeah.
so they can use that alley as kind of the construction drive, and then we'll come back after that and reconstruct that.
Thanks, Jeremy.
On the northern TIF district, do you anticipate any headcount additions? I mean, you listed the salary as a portion of your.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Not specific to redevelopment commission.
Okay.
We are adding a planner, but it will be out of the general, not out
Not out of ours. Okay.
Any other questions about the budgets? Well, certainly encourage you to have a look at those before the next meeting, because we will definitely have to vote on it at that point. Okay? So, bring your questions. All righty, moving along, thank you. Other unfinished business.
The only other thing I have to add, and I don't know that we talked about this, because I found out about it in between when I was doing these budgets, but last year we budgeted, we added a couple $100,000 to the Certified Technology Park at the end of the year because our revenue that we brought in was higher than what we anticipated. Somewhere in between us submitting that budget and getting it approved and the actual budget being certified, it didn't get added. So it did take before the council, the last council meeting, an additional appropriation to put in the budget what you already approved and what the council had already approved.
That's what we approved.
Yeah, so just to let you know that that is in the process of, we should have 400,000 in there, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, doesn't really matter, it only had 200,000 in there. So we are doing the additional appropriation through the council to get that 200 back in there.
When's that Lake City Bank parking area and renovations, when's that gonna all be done?
I don't know.
I know we're not bought.
Soon, because they are moving.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah, I
say,
assume
so
they're
it
moving.
probably won't be that much longer.
Do we have any updates on the Gatke building? It's here. You're welcome to speak if you like.
We'll be ahead. No change since last meeting.
Okay. Want to ask? Thank you. And thank you for being here.
All I got, any other questions?
City Hall, we're not going to be involved in that at all.
In
Sale.
No, no.
Okay.
It
So that
was,
was done by
council
the city.
approved
Board of Works?
disposal.
Oh.
So the council approved disposing the property. The Board of Works is the agent for that. We went through the disposition process. We had one bidder. It was presented to the Board of Works. It was accepted, and now we'll go on to closing the property.
Okay. So that's pretty much a done deal. Approvals.
Well, I don't make that decision, but
It's closer.
it's closer.
It's closer to being completed. Okay.
Now what happens to the funds?
Technically, it would probably, well, it can get put back into whatever category they want to put it back in, probably the general fund or, yeah, probably the general fund, probably just go into the general fund. It's miscellaneous
Council
revenue.
make that decision also?
I don't know how that works.
I
surprised.
think it's an executive decision, but ultimately, the council approves it through adoption. They approve the budgets, so it doesn't really matter. The executive gets to choose where he puts the money, but they get to choose how the money gets budgeted.
Yeah.
So either way, it works its way through the system.
Is there
There
any-
may be state state guidelines too that influences all that. I don't know, I can't remember, I'm sorry. Should know that.
Sorry.
Not every day you sell.
Is there any way that
Sorry?
money
Not every day you sell City Hall and see what.
goes
how
to
it
pay
works.
off, not pay off, pay on the debt that we have on this building?
It could, but the reality is, I don't know if you looked at it, next year is the last payment for this. So by the time we receipt it in, and because we already have reserves for that, it could, but it would kind of be pointless in a matter of saying, I mean, so 2019, spring 2019 is the last payment on the City Hall bond. It'll be paid off.
So the timing
Yeah, that's what I said.
wouldn't help you a lot.
I mean, you could, but it's not gonna technically be budgeted. I mean, the money, we're budgeting the money right now. By the time we get that money, the budgets will be approved. The money's already set aside, and we have the reserves for that payment as well, so. You could make the claim, oh yeah, we're gonna use that money to pay it off, but in reality, it's just gonna go in the general fund.
Okay.
Okay, anything else come before this illustrious group? I said that with the street. You have anything else to add?
I've got nothing else.
Kim? Okay. Anybody else?
We'll move, we adjourn then.
Motion to adjourn. Everybody in favor, say aye. Whoa, whoa.
Unofficial, I just wanna know, next month is July, the 4th of July is is that a Wednesday?
I think so,
So-
yes.
I'm sure we have our meeting down already, but remind me.
Second.
Second,
It's
okay.
a second. I think I
Okay.
can make that.
Anybody have any objection to that date?
I may not be here.
Nobody objected.
Trolling papers.
George? George.
Come on.
Dan, I would
Okay.
ask you something.
We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Hey, just as a point of information, if you haven't been out past the new fire station, go check it out.
Yeah.
It's really an awesome,
200 south.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
WCC's looking good in it.
Looks
Yeah.
great. Looks really good.
So I'm thinking we could take the money that we get from the old city hall